welcome everyone. Thank you for joining another Talk Advocacy with me, where we take one discussion and we talk about it for a while with a special guest. Today we have Jenni Adair, who is head of customer advocacy at Commvault. Jenni, thank you so much for coming. Jenni's a long-time friend of Captivate Collective, but just practitioner in this space. You actually have a pretty long history in this space, Jenni. But today we're going, sorry, I almost skipped over it. Jenni is also a two-time top 100 CMA. She's made the list 2 years in a row. So congratulations, Jenni. Great for you.
Thank you.
And she is now head of customer advocacy at Commvault. Jenni, why don't you take like 30 seconds and tell us a little bit more? What would you add to that if you were describing yourself?
I am very passionate. Hi, I'm Jenni Adair, head of customer advocacy at Commvault. I'm very passionate about customer advocacy and just connecting the dots of, getting wonderful customers to tell the story of why they love the company's products and solutions and what's in it for them and getting them closer to the company and that they love so much and making it, every interaction fun and memorable.
Awesome. Yes, Jenni's customers love her. She's very great at making those customer connections. Today I have as my co-host here Bianca Del Vecchio, a lovely part of the Captivate Collective team. So Bianca, we're so happy to have you here. She is a senior advocacy consultant. All right, so this is the question for today, and it's a kind of catchy title, but it's a for real thing, right? Yeah. And it is laid off, now what? You've been laid off, now what? And Jenni has been so kind to agree to come and talk to us about this very timely thing. We know this is happening across all of the tech industry, not just customer advocacy and customer marketing, but it is always good to have these kind of conversations. And so we're excited to pick your brain, Jenni, because on the other side of it and see what you have to share us. So I'm going to throw out this first question and say, okay, you get the news that you've been laid off, and I am sure it just like a kind of a crazy experience.
Yep.
And can be shocking. Yes. Very shocking for most people seem to be shocked when that happens. What's your first sentiment? What's your first action?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I feel for people out there because this is a real thing. It's happening all over the place. And that's one thing I noticed when I got laid off. I'm not alone. It was happening over and over again. But yeah, the first reaction is shock and, why me? But, things happen. And so my thing is, most people, said really nice things. They were shocked as well. And they said, hope you get, to spend some time with your family and hang out and, think about stuff. And my reaction is, no, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to find a job. I've had a wonderful, my family's wonderful. And I've spent, the holidays with them because this happened in January. So, you're ready to work and you want to get going. And I feel like for me personally, I just wanted to get going and reach out to my network and see what I could do. So that's the first thing I did was I got to work. The second thing I should have done, which my husband reminded me, he's like, you need to file for unemployment. And it didn't even cross my mind, to be honest. And so he told me that I think a week in, and we're paying into it, so you might as well do it. It's kind of daunting to do that, but to have to go do that and fill out the forms and everything, but you should do it right away because if not, you miss out on, I miss out on 2 weeks of pay. So, so that was the first thing I did. And then the next thing was post something on LinkedIn. So you obviously want to update your resume, you want to update your LinkedIn, you want to tell people, because I think, some people are probably, again, it's hard news to take, and it's embarrassing and, shocking and things like that, but you really want to use your network and LinkedIn is your best friend. I mean, I used to go to LinkedIn once in a while, not that often, but I was checking LinkedIn 50 times a day, and your mind starts racing. You start thinking, what should I do and where should I look? Because if your head's down in your company, you're not really looking. So you're not thinking about, what's out there.
Well, and Jenni, I want to take a step back because these LinkedIn posts, for better or worse, they become prevalent just because of how many layoffs are going around right now. So you can almost become lost in a slew of other people posting LinkedIn posts. And I know a lot of people are doing that to get visibility that, hey, I'm available. Here's my skill set. Here's what I do. Did you do a LinkedIn post? And if so, what did you include in it? And did it have any, was it helpful at all in your search?
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's helpful on a couple of fronts. One is just getting it out there, writing it down and putting it out there, putting yourself out there, and in the, responses you get from the lovely people that come back and say, oh, I'm so shocked, and can I help? What can I do? And so there's two sets of people. There's one that like, I'm sorry, and say all that. And then there's the second set that actually go into action for you. And that's the beauty of your network, right? And having that network, like always having a good network. And I'm so lucky that I have a great network of people that I've helped over in the past, and that, I've connected with and all that. So that's the first thing you want to do is, I really think you got to get the news out there, and then you need to follow it up and tell them, what you're good at. What are you looking for? Right. Because again, for people to take the next step to help you, they really need to understand what your role is. And as you guys know, this role is semi-new, and I don't want to say it's hard to explain, but it's kind of a unique kind of role. So I had to, I feel like I had to explain what it was and what I do. I also think it's really important to get LinkedIn recommendations. I don't know how many people, ask for those often, but I think you should do that. And I think you should go to, everyone from your customers. I think that's a great place to start. If you really made an impact, I have really great, relationships with customers. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to email them and ask them to give me a recommendation. And I was so fortunate. I got a lot of recommendations from customers that I worked with, from executives that I work with. I even reached out to our CEO at Cohesity, and he gave me a wonderful recommendation. And I also asked him, like, what companies would you look at? Would you look for what are the hot companies out there? And so I think, again, it's all about communicating what's going on and getting your name out there, and also, helping others too along the way, because it is a community, and LinkedIn is a great community, and there's a lot of people that are going through this. So you can kind of commiserate with each other, and also, help each other along the way. If you find something that might be good for, a colleague that was also laid off, or someone in this space, I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And it really points to that, this network building and building your community on LinkedIn is something that you can do at any point. So that when it does come to the time for you to tap into that network and work with your connections, you've already taken those steps. You've already collected those recommendations, and you have those people that you can rely on.
Yeah. And I think regarding the recommendations too, I did this, I haven't updated my resume in forever, right? In 5.5 years. And so I realized I was getting all these great recommendations on LinkedIn, and I'm like, you know what, do people actually go look at them? I don't know if they do. So one of my posts was I actually cut and paste some of the LinkedIn recommendation from one of our customers that I worked with, and I put it in my post. And also I put those into my resume, because I think, again, you kind of have to call it out. So yeah, it's great that you're getting all these great recommendations from people, but if no one's reading them, then they're kind of lost. So I think highlighting those is a good idea.
I think we should take a step back and acknowledge when you're a customer advocacy practitioner, this is part of the beauty of your role, is that you do have this direct interaction with customers, that they can be your biggest advocates as well.
Totally.
Because we always say human to human, right? We are creating human to human connection in our practice, and that is a benefit to us at times as well. And I think that's really smart, Jenni, to put those reviews by customers into your own posts, because you're right, a lot of people are not going to see them. Now, we always talk LinkedIn, and I think everyone's kind of bought into the value of LinkedIn, but I think you also recommend putting on Facebook and Instagram too. Just what's your thought process behind that?
Yeah, again, I mean, I'm all about communication, right? And getting the word out. And so I think it's also hard for people to be vulnerable, and to be honest, and sometimes, it hurts and all that kind of stuff. But to me, I'm like, you know what, I'm getting the word out. I'm letting people know. It's funny, my dad found out on Facebook from someone that I got laid off. I forgot to call him. I was so busy.
Oh
He
my
was so
God.
mad at me. He's like, because he's not on Facebook. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. But anyway, so, so posting it in all your social channels, I think is really important, because you might have different people in different places. Obviously, LinkedIn is number one because that's where the network is, and as far as work related. But you might know someone, personally that could connect you with somebody else. And I think that's the key, is just getting your message out to as many people as possible, so they can, again, the network can work for you. They can help you, because I mean, many people connected me with other people that they knew. And I think that's important, to go have conversations, right? Just go start looking at other companies, start looking at people that are connected to that company that you're looking at, right? So go look at all the different companies in the spaces that you're looking at. Like I was looking at cybersecurity, and so just start looking at the companies and then see who's connected to those people, and then who do you know that's connected. So that's how you get, hate to keep using the word connection, but that's how you get connected, right? Is you put those dots together, and that's what helps. And that, it's all who you know, and you have to be able to just use your resources and look around. So I think that's really important to keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you're pulling from these different communities, right? Because we usually think for professional life, for work, we think LinkedIn, but there are so many different communities that you're a part of. And just having those conversations and tapping into those connections, you never know, someone might know of something that puts you on a path that leads you to your next opportunity. So it's all about being open to those types of conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jenni, you jumped in, like you're a doer, obviously.
Yeah.
You feel better when you're doing, is
Yep.
what I'm taking away from this. Okay. But there are a lot of like emotions that come up with that. And I think you have some, ideas and best practices that worked for you, as far as like, okay, how did you go about handling the kind of emotions that you have to go through and all that? What are some tips that you might have about regulating that and encouraging yourself?
Yeah, I think, getting up every day to have a purpose, right? And walking your dog. So, getting out. And I think, again, with what I was saying earlier, getting out online, but also getting out with people, right? With your community, your local community, your friends, your vendors. I mean, one of the things I did, I reached out to Captivate and Influitive and some other Slap 5 and Point of Reference, all the vendors that I've worked with that I love, and just started talking to them, see if they knew of anything, and kept educated, right? And I got CAP certified, so you kind of need to stay in the game and keep talking the talk, even though you don't have that that job to go to. You have a job, and that is to find a job. So you need to get up, you need to put your best foot forward, and you just need to talk to as many people as you can and put yourself out there. It's easy to just oh, woe is me, and be sad and all that, but you can do that later. I feel like, I mean, obviously everyone needs their time to to take care of themselves, and everyone's different. I'm not people are different than I am, but my whole thing was I couldn't quite relax until I found another job, because it was such a shock, and I wasn't looking, and I needed a job, right? And I wanted a job. I just wanted to work. I wanted to get back in the game. And so I think once I did get an offer, a verbal, that's when I relaxed. And I had like 3 weeks to just hang out and take some time off, and not really go anywhere, but just get some things in order and get excited and actually start. I did start before I started. I got things going and like wrote down my thoughts and what all the things I wanted to do and this and that. And so that's just how I am. But that helped me, get in that mode of, okay, I got this. Cause you do start when you get laid off, again, it hurts feelings. And it's always also like, wait, am I not good? I mean, all these things go through your mind, right? So you have to just put one foot in front of the other and get going. And the great thing is there are jobs out there. So for the people that are out there looking that, got laid off or gonna get laid off, I mean, it is bad. It's bad. And it's not something you want to go through, but again, there are other things out there. And again, you might look back and think it's a blessing after. And that's hard in the moment. You're like, no way, I this is perfect. I want to do this. But that really is the case, is that things happen for a reason, and you get put on another path for a reason. So
100%. I think most people I know who have been laid off have, in retrospect, looked back and said it. Sometimes people have told me that's the best thing that ever happened to them.
right.
So you have to be open to the unique possibility that now lies in front of you and
Yes.
see that as an opportunity. Jenni, I love what you said about going to vendors. Obviously we're not, Captivate Collective's not a platform vendor, we're an agency. So, but that does mean we touch a lot of different customer marketing and advocacy programs. We're aware of a lot of different people in this space. So of course we're a good person to tap into. Vendors, like specific platforms and skill sets, I feel like those are becoming more and more prevalent, like where people want to see specific tools perhaps that you have used
Yeah.
and that you can say you're an expert in. Did you find that that was a part of your job search?
Yeah, I think so, because, many of the companies out there, they either don't know what customer marketing is, or they know they want it, but they don't know how to do it. Right. And so you have to really go in and say, I know how to do this. And you have to get in and you have to look at what they have, and then you have to make a plan. And I think, I'm a big believer in influitive, as you guys know. And so I think, that's the one platform my go-to platform. But I feel like you do need to know all the different platforms and the players out there so that you can come into a company and have a strategy and recommend some things. Obviously you go into a company and they might not either have the budget for it, or they don't have what you like. They have a different vendor that you have to use, kind of thing. But I think a lot of the vendors are, just good people to go to see if they know of anyone that's looking, and just to pick their brain about what they're doing. And it's all about education, right? And always keeping up with what's out there and what's possible, right? And so I do think that's important. And like I said, a lot of people don't know what customer marketing is, or customer advocacy. They don't know how it works. It's kind of this kind of mystery thing, but so
And how do you approach that, Jenni? Like
how do you what?
How do you approach that? Let's dig into it, because I think people are finding that these words mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people at different companies. So what was your strategy for, like, one, figuring out what they thought it meant, and then two, then presenting like your vision of what customer advocacy means for you?
I think just really like just having conversations with them about what they want, what they have, and again, what my philosophy is, and how I can help. So it was more of it just seems like most of the companies, they have little pieces of customer advocacy, and everyone wants more, right? And obviously you can't just do it. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes, my big strength is my relationship building skills, and having, customers that trust me, that I can, help to do things. And so that takes a while. You have to get introduced to those people, and find out, again, what is it, what's in it for them, not just, you want to come at it from a different perspective, instead of always like, the company you go to, they always want, obviously they want to get, customers to talk about their brand, and, to give them reviews and things like that. But you really need to come at it from the customer perspective, and what is it that the customer gets out of it? That's the key. And that is, a long-term relationship with the vendor. They get to be top of mind, and, they learn about the product, and everything about the product. They have more relationships within the company to, speak their mind, to get the features that they want, to, another extension of their sales team really is what our job is to do. So it's always say it's a win-win-win, as far as, us giving to them giving back to us. And so to me, that's the key, is just really talking to the people that, the people you're interviewing with, and finding out how they believe in this, what they think of it, and then you giving your perspective on how you can make what they're doing better.
And Jenni, I just want to talk a little bit about the types of things people are looking for. So we talked about tools, the ones that are really popular right now in the space, but what other skills are employers looking for when it comes to a customer marketing or advocacy job?
Yeah, a big one is Gartner Peer Insights. Online reviews, right? So, and it's funny, going back to what we were talking about with us being customer marketers, and we go to our customers for them to give us a recommendation. I look at it as like a review, right? So I mean, everybody wants customer reviews. That's like the number one thing, especially Gartner, right? And so that's what I was thinking to myself, like, oh well, I asked customers to give us reviews about our product, our company. So why don't I do the same thing? Why don't I ask them to give me a review of, of myself? So anyway, but reviews are, that's like, what's your strategy on reviews? And what is it? Everybody wants, the large brand customers and to sing their praises, obviously. And then what is the other, just, there's so many things that wonderful customers can help a company do, like, it's like become beta testers, right? And fill out surveys about the products and what else I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, like an unending list of advocacy.
Yeah. There's,
that can
quotes
be done.
and webinars and speaking videos, things like that. So, and, it's hard now with, people are still not in person, as much as possible. So that's hard because you're not actually meeting in person. That's how you really form those relationships. So you gotta work around all that and yeah. So
yeah. Okay. So many good things, Jenni, like we've been digging in, like there's just so many good little tidbits here. We do actually have some questions. So I want to make sure we get some of these questions coming in from our live watchers. So Bianca, can you lead us into some of these questions?
Yeah, so we've got a question from Jill, and this one is all about the interview process and companies asking you to put things together as part of that interview process to get a sense of your working style and how you approach things. So when you're, in your opinion, or if you've been through this process, like what do you think is reasonable to ask? What is too much to ask in the interview process? What have you seen? Would love to get your thoughts on that.
yeah, I mean, it's funny, in the past, I have been asked to do like a 30, 60 day, 90 day kind of presentation. I wasn't asked this time around. I just had some really great conversations with people and they liked me and they sent me to the next step. And so, so that was really great. But I have heard out there that people are really annoyed because some people are annoyed because they're making them, put together this whole elaborate plan and everything. And that's that it could be a big waste of time, for the poor person that is looking for the job. And then it could be that the person that's asking for that is just trying to get, education to learn from them, or they could just be trying to see how they think. Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to do that, but I have had to do that before. So I guess I'll switch it around. What I did for this new company is I put together my own 30, 60, 90 day plan. It was just a bunch of notes basically on slides to say like, okay, this is what I need to do when I first get in. I need to talk to the CSMs. I need to talk to the sales reps. I need to talk to customers, really dig in to see like what tools do they have and what kind of events have they done and what kind of advocacy have they done, and talk to a bunch of people, obviously, in marketing. And but it's really, to me, the first, when you first get in, you want to talk to as many people as possible inside the company to pick their brains, obviously, and you want to get those relationships with the key people like sales, marketing, and customer success. I think that is super key. And I'm happy to say I've been doing that since I've started here the past 3 weeks. Wonderful people, and people, I think the good thing is when you're new, they're open to having conversations and talking about all that stuff. But yeah, so sorry to not answer the question, but I don't think I didn't really have to do that. So maybe do a 30, 60 day, 90 day plan of how you see it and what your strategy would be, that, but
I have some thoughts on it because I've been on both ends really of it. And, there was like the Google days where you would have to go in and like spend a whole day or two and a whole project, and we're not there. But then sometimes you are asked to do a hefty project, and being an employer, I will say it's because you're so worried about like someone does present themselves well, but then when they go in to do the actual work, you find a bunch of gaps. I have had discussions around this on what's fair and reasonable. One possible alternative for both employers and the candidates is maybe there is a project, but maybe there's some compensation to that project as well. So you get to try them out on a certain skill set. You are compensating them for their time, but it's on a trial basis. So that's one way to approach, like if they get through the first rounds and you think this might be a good fit, but you really want to make sure that's just a possible idea I'm throwing out there. I haven't really done it a lot, but it's something I like to keep in mind.
Well, that's why actually I think it's key to get those recommendations, to be honest. And it's all who inside the company, because they can vouch for you, right? And if you don't have that, then I think you're at a disadvantage. But if you have that, then the the employer shouldn't really need you to do all this stuff. They
Oh
can
my gosh,
just,
it's advocacy all over again, because if
is
someone is
that.
going to say, I vouch for this person, I have seen their work, I know their work, it is fantastic, then right, you
Exactly.
don't have to sell yourself, which is a much harder sell.
Yes, when
I
they
love that,
don't
Jen.
know you, it's
Yes.
so hard. So you really do need to work your network. I mean, that's key. And like, and I don't mean work it like in a bad way, but for instance, if somebody asks you for help, like now, I've gotten people asking to talk to me or whatever about, whatever advice, and you take that time, like you help people. That's what you
Mhm.
do, that you help people, and you're not doing it because then someday they will help you, but that is the benefit is that when you help people all throughout your life, that comes back to you, right? So
Mhm.
I do think the recommendations are key, especially like in getting multiple recommendations throughout, from customers. That's huge. If a customer endorses you, one of my awesome customers endorsed me, sent 2 letters to 2 different companies. So
Wow, that's
nice.
great.
Wow.
And like one to a CEO and one to
Amazing.
our CMO here. And so doing that, like that says a lot, right? I mean, he took the time to send a note. And I think that impressed them. So reach out to you've been advocating for your customers. They've been advocating for you. Reach out to your network of advocates for your life, for yourself, and get them to help you, and just ask. I mean, again, I always tell my kids, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst they can say is
And
no.
That's right. The worst thing is no.
I'll add one more thing to that as well before we just jump to one more question, but the idea of like a case study, right? We're all
Mhm.
super familiar with case studies. If you can put together a little
Yes.
case study for projects you've worked on, you don't have to disclose the details, but
Yeah.
talk about the results. And that is
Yes.
like something you can provide without having to have, that project be something new.
Exactly. And that I did have that in one of my interviews. One person that interviewed me, they had a lot of questions, and I just walked through scenarios like, what would you do if you did this? What would you do here? And
Exactly.
that's, again, you can write it down, like you said, and you can have all that ready. But that's it. Like the person interviewing you needs to have those kind of questions for you, and that's how you work through it. But I love
Absolutely.
the case study idea. That's really good.
Yeah. Okay, one more question. So I think Liz might have some insight into this as well, but do we know if any of the vendors or platforms are offering training on their platforms to professionals who are unemployed?
That's a good
Well,
idea.
this is, so yeah, so we have at Captivate Collective with our CAP certification. I don't even know how this came about, but I think one day we were like, "Ah, there's all these people out here who
Mhm.
are looking for something to do." Like Jenny said, like
It was
you
perfect
don't want to,
timing.
you don't
Yeah.
want to just sit still, right? Like you want to keep progressing, you want to move forward. So that is one thing we've implemented with our CAP certification, is that we do offer a limited number of free entries for people who are in the middle of their search or unemployed. So I don't know if any of the other vendors have done anything like that. It's, getting trained on tools in our space outside of actually using it right at that moment. I don't know if there's a lot of that going on, right? Like, I don't use this tool right now. I want to learn so that I can add it to my skill set. I
Yeah.
think this is a gap in our
Yeah.
industry right now.
I think that's a great idea. And I have to say that your CAP certification came at the perfect time. So thank you. And it was so nice to connect with other people on that call too, who got laid off. And then actually I was able to help. I was so happy because I was able to help 2 people from that call. Talk to a couple of people, since I already took a job, I was able to help people with a couple other jobs I was looking at. And so, that I was looking into. So I sent, they didn't, I don't think anyone got the job yet, but at least I was able to help, and give them hope, because I think that's part of it too, is like, going through the interview process, talking to companies, that gives you hope. Even if you don't get the job or whatever, you see what's out there. And that's why it's key to keep getting out there and talking to people.
And I bet if any of the vendors listen to this call here, I bet we'll see some little ideas sparking up in some heads.
Yes.
But I know we have to wrap, but fun fact is that I think, Jenny, you got confirmation of your new job right on that during one of our
Yes.
certification classes. And we all got to celebrate together, which is the wonderful thing about this community. It is pretty
Yes.
tight. Like, we know it's a small, tight-knit community. That means we know a lot of the faces. We're very familiar. And it's wonderful to lean into that during such a time. This is the perfect time to use your network, is when you're going through something like Jenny has gone through, and then you get to celebrate with someone like Jenni when we get to see the fruits of her labor in landing her next role. So Jenni, I am so glad you came and talked to folks about this today. I think it's these conversations are much needed right now, and we always appreciate your authenticity. You're just so open. Jenni, anyone listening, Jenni is just a wealth of information and knowledge. You should definitely reach out to her, Jenni Adair, on LinkedIn, because Jenni will answer you. I just know you will. Jenni, I just put your name out there, but I'm pretty positive you will answer anyone who
I will. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Thank you all so much. This was fun. And I wish everyone luck out there, and reach out if you need something.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.